Have you noticed how loud the escalating chaos, polarity, and uncertainty in the world is right now? It can make you wonder if we're just going to end up annihilating ourselves. As old systems based in oppression and control and greed start to crumble at an accelerated rate, it's easy to get caught up in disempowerment, frustrated anger, and worry about the future. But there's a much bigger picture happening that's easy to miss in all the emotional intensity, one that involves a critical shift up in consciousness to the resonance of the fourth dimension. And you need to use your free will to do it. In this episode, we're delving into the reasons for the chaos on spirit level and the critical steps to take if you want to shift into the higher order of consciousness. My name is Karen Cheong, and in this episode of Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, we're talking about the shift into 4D.
So today we're going to talk about the shifting into 4D.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, that assumes that we're in a different dimension because 4D stands for fourth dimension,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we are going to proceed with this conversation with a focus that we're leaving one lower
Mm-hmm.
into a higher.
That's right.
Okay, well, what could possibly go wrong?
Right. What could possibly go wrong? So I think that for a lot of people out there, they don't really know what that means. You know, what does it mean to move into a higher dimensional consciousness resonance?
Well, I think as well, what do you mean by dimensional consciousness?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't we just humans on a planet living a human life?
Yeah. Well, we are humans living a human life. And there are infinite levels of consciousness that you can experience. And right now, because of the density that we are and the asleepness that we've been in and the forgetting we've been in and our focus solely on the physical and the density and form and forgetting completely that we are infinite indestructible consciousness or source intelligence and form, intrinsically part of the one, we're really in this very dense consciousness level. And so what does that mean? So it means that you forget all that stuff, right? So at this consciousness level,
Right.
there's still free will, meaning like you get to choose what you want to do or not. You have a choice to focus just on the physical, or you can use this period of time that we're in. So we're in this window of ascension right now, which means that you have the opportunity to move up in consciousness order. Now, you asked a question that I haven't answered yet, which is like, what is a dimensional order and why do we care? Well, a dimensional order is simply a way of us explaining different vibrational rates or different rates of resonance. And it's really a dimensional order is a bandwidth of resonance.
Mm-hmm.
And in that bandwidth of resonance, that dictates what your experience is, what your perspective is, how you view yourself, other people, the oneness, the planet, everything. Everything is informed by your resonance. So when you jump into a new bandwidth of resonance, your perspective and everything in your experience changes.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, in our current dimensional order of resonance, which is the third, for the sake of this conversation, it's very dense in the sense of we have a lot of fear. We have a lot of oppression. I think it's very easy to see it in the world right now. You know, we have bullies on all levels, from the personal level all the way up to our political levels. We have a lot of greed. We have a lot of power mongering, a lot of hoarding of things. It's very much about us versus them. It's about I'll have mine. You know what I mean? Like I don't care about you, and I'm very separate from everything. Meaning from others, from the earth, from myself even. There's a real disconnect. And most of what it is that you feel will give you certainty is usually outside of yourself.
Right.
That's this level of consciousness.
Okay.
And then when you move into the fourth, it changes because in order to move into the fourth dimension of consciousness, it means that your resonance or your vibration needs to jump. So not only like in your consciousness, but in your body also.
Okay, let's stop there.
Yeah.
Right. So how does our own consciousness or our vibration rise?
Yeah.
How?
Yes.
So I'm going along, I'm doing my 3D thing.
Yeah.
And then I just become aware of another dimension and go, oh yeah, let's go there.
Yeah.
Or is it an internal process?
Yes.
Is it, because the way you describe, this dimensional order that we're in,
yes,
it sounds really ego-based.
Yes, very.
Ego-based and all about mind, control and power, all that kind of patterns that we've all heard about.
Yeah, and fear and anxiety is from the mind also.
Yeah.
To your point.
Okay. So I'm guessing somewhere in there,
Yeah.
the rise in this vibrational order, consciousness, whatever phrase we want to give it, into this 4D, fourth dimensional order, something has to happen internally.
To us, yes,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
Our resonance has to change. So a number of things have to happen. And it's going to sound like you're like, oh my God, more than one. It is more than one. First, your resonance needs to go up, meaning your own resonance physically and also the vibrational level of you from your spirit body in, which is the spirit body is a sphere at arm's length all around you. That's a flight, and all the way into your physical body. That needs to rise in resonance. And the way you would do that is to release your distortion patterns. And we talk about this a lot on this podcast. It's kind of like a hot air balloon, and you have all these sandbags, and you got to like toss out the sandbags, and then the balloon will start to rise. Well, the same with us. When you toss out your distortion patterns and you release them, your resonance starts to rise. So that's the first thing.
First thing, right. Can I just get into the nuance of that?
Yeah.
Because it sounds really simple.
Yeah.
Right? Just become aware of your distortion patterns and release them.
Yeah.
But there's a nuance in there, right, that I think accompanies this rise in consciousness is that there's a difference in the awareness of the person.
I would agree.
Right? That awareness shifts somehow from me, and I'm just going to do what me wants to something. Whoa, wait, hang on. There's something else.
Yes.
How do I get there?
Yes.
Is it something like that?
Exactly. So when you start to release your distortion patterns, your perspective starts to broaden and you start to realize, feel, be aware of, however you perceive the world, that you're not just this little human running around in this little physical body. You're actually this brilliance that expands and is actually part of everything. But in order to have that experience, your resonance needs to be high enough to remember that you are this brilliance, because the brilliance is already there. It has always been there. It'll always be there. It's what animates you, right? So you would not be walking around alive and talking or thinking even if you didn't have the animation of source intelligence. You would not. It's not possible. You would be dead. You know what I mean? So it's already within you, but we've forgotten that we are also this source intelligence. We just are in the illusion that we're just a human. Just a physicalness. So when you release the distortion patterns, what happens is you start to recognize, be aware of like, whoa, there's something bigger here. And you start to feel or sense or be aware of what I call your big S self, your higher self, this aspect of you that's infinite, indestructible consciousness. So, and they start to coexist together in a way that you haven't really experienced before. And at some point, they start to become one. There is no little S self, meaning the ego mind self, and the big ass self. Your resonance is high enough. You're like, oh, it's just self. It's just one. So that's one thing, which is rising in your resonance. And also in this process that I'm talking about, you start to really recognize, wait, like I'm a creator being. Like everything in my reality is a reflection of my resonance and my emanation, which is the same thing. Emanation, resonance, whatever, they're interchangeable. And what's amazing is that your manifestation can get really, really fast because everything is in response to your resonance. We think that we have to chase things and we have to do all the steps and we have to do all the things in order to make our reality change. It's like always really hard. But if you shift your resonance, your reality will reflect your resonance. It's just the way it is. So it doesn't have to be as hard as we've been conditioned to think it is. And then the second thing that needs to happen, which is really important, is to move into the fourth dimensional order of awareness. You have to move from being a mind-centered being, which is like think, me and mine. And you drop your awareness of the seat of your consciousness into your heart space. And it sounds really easy. Like, just drop that and it'll be fine. It'll be rosy. But the thing is, we're so conditioned by fear and we're so conditioned to think and be attached to our mind. And we have so much stuff on our devices and we're so distracted all the time that we forget this very important thing, which is when you shift your seat of your awareness into your heart space and start to live from a different kind of intelligence, not a mental intelligence. I'm not saying you won't have a mind. I'm not saying you have to lose your mind. You'll still be able to plan and think, but it becomes less dominant than your heart intelligence, like what you know, what you intuitively feel, what you have awareness around that is informed from a higher order of resonance.
There's so much noise and so many horrible things going on in the world. It can really have you spinning up in your head with worry for what's going to happen in the future. It's really important to learn to come into your center so you feel more grounded, more focused in the present moment, and much less reactive, so you can make the best choices possible. Click on the link below for your free Centering into the 0 Point group frequency calibration to help you do that.
That sounds really grand, right? But again, I know I'm kind of being a bit nitty-picky, but are you saying then at this window in time, because it doesn't just happen.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at. You don't just suddenly wake up one morning and go, I am more than my ego.
Yeah.
And now I will rise in my vibration because I recognize my distortions that I haven't recognized for 30 years.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's a connection between this window of consciousness that's happening all through the solar system, universe, and however else multiverses that are available, that is somehow pushing into us to kind of wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yeah. So
and that we're remembering
that
there is more than just this.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's happening. That's the window of ascension, where we have the opportunity in our bodies, because you're taking your body with you, to rise in your resonance so that you're aware not only are you this human that's embodied, but you're also source intelligence in form, meaning that you are this creator being. And when you're in that awareness, I know it sounds sort of like so almost trivial when I say it, but it's such a massive shift, because when you have the experience of it, it really is this huge heart opening. It's this beautiful, expansive feeling of love. It's a kind of expansive peace where you know that you're part of everything. There's no lack in it. So that's the fourth dimensional order of resonance. There's no lack. It really is this expansiveness that you are part of, that you are it's like intrinsic to you. So there's no, do you know what I mean? Like in the third dimensional order of resonance, a lot of times we're always like operating out of lack.
Yeah.
You know, we don't feel like we're going to have enough, whether it's money or time, because, you know, we're afraid of death. So, oh my God, that's going to happen. And the end of we have all this fear of lack. But when you start to feel or be aware of or know your infiniteness in this higher dimensional order of consciousness, that fear isn't the same.
Yeah.
Because you recognize your infiniteness.
Yeah.
And so it's different. And then your relationship to everything changes, because in that infiniteness, you realize, oh my God, I'm interconnected with everythingness. So it matters then how I treat you, because really we're fundamentally connected, even if I think I don't like you that much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so there's this interconnectedness that's really important. And then you start to realize that everything is just a reflection of you. So this person that you think you don't like is actually just a reflection of this thing right here, right? And so it's kind of funny how that shows up. But I think the important thing to realize is, as you say, it's not like you just like pop up one day in the morning and you're like, all right, on my list to do today, I'm going to pop into the fourth dimensional order of resonance. I mean, I guess some of you might. But the thing is, you have already chosen as a being to have this experience of ascension. Like if you were curious about this and you've been seeking and you know this window of time is really important, even despite the chaos that's happening in the world, you're like, something fundamentally is breaking down that isn't working, and we're moving into something new. If you've been feeling that, that's because the old must break down. These old, heavier, denser timelines, these old, heavier paradigms, energetic dynamics, all this crud that we've had in this lower level dimensional order has to break down and sort of drop away in order for us to move into this higher resonance, this higher consciousness level.
Yeah, because this isn't new, having bullies and people, pushing in on other people's stuff. This has been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
And through social media and through TV and through all sorts of media platforms now, we're all aware of it. We're all aware to the point now where we don't even know what's true and what's not true.
It's true, yeah.
But ultimately, like you say, right, it's not, I think, yes, we see this happening and we think it's outside of ourselves. And like you said, it's a reflection. But it's like some people get upset by that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not like that. No, but you're triggered by it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And in that reflection, you get to see where you need to
release some stuff.
It's not that they're reflecting exactly who I am. No, but they're reflecting the stuff inside of you that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so the only reason I'm coming back to that is if all this chaos is happening.
Yeah.
And now we've done the work, we recognize that we are co-creators and that all that we have to do after you clear your distortions or continue to clear your distortions is change your frequency resonance or keep it buoyed or, whatever to have a different experience of this reality.
Yeah.
Right. So if we know that, how can we help, or should we even help.
Yeah, it's
other
interesting.
people.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're called to help people in a physical way, then do it. I mean, do what you intuitively feel. But the more important thing actually is your resonance and the resonance that you are, in the sense of, do you focus on all the fear mongering on social media? Are you pulled into the polarity? Are you pulled into like, we're all screwed. You need to like buy a lot of gold coin, buy a lot of guns and like hide in your basement. You know what I mean? Like there's that kind of thread. And there's all this like noise that's happening. And that's a lot of noise. So the thing is, you're a creator being, as we talked about earlier. So your resonance matters because your reality will reflect that. So, for example, we had this client, and this happened just a couple of weeks ago, and she's in Israel right now. She's Israeli. She's in Israel. And she was freaking out because she was supposed to have a one-on-one with me, and then she wanted to come in for the Limitless Potential Mastermind. But she was terrified because there was all this threats that they were going to be bombed by Iran. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so she was saying, I might be in a bomb shelter, so I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to connect in order to come into these two very important programs. And so she was reminded, actually, by a very awesome customer service team, like, you have tools to focus on your own resonance. So yes, there's a lot of this noise and it's terrifying. So there's nothing not terrifying about having to go to a bomb shelter because there's a threat of a nuclear like bomb drop, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, I don't think there's anything that's like normal about that. And of course your system is in fear.
And I'd love to add, if you come from that part of the world, it's
always
way too
there.
familiar.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's right there.
So easy for them to
be
into fear.
Yeah, of course, because it's very present all the time for them collectively. And so anyway, she focused on her own resonance, and she said as soon as she did that, she felt something shift. The timeline shifted around her, and they were told, "Oh, it's shifted." They've decided that there is no more, like, they're not going to launch the bombs or whatever it is they decided, and they didn't have to go into the bomb shelters. Yeah, that happened within like an hour. Yeah. You know, so she felt that shift. She made that choice, she made the choice. She felt the shift. Then this thing happened in the physical world, which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
It's
right?
amazing.
It's amazing what can happen, and we think that we're very powerless and we can't change things by just shifting and shifting your resonance up, holding a certain resonance. We think that it's not important, like it doesn't make a difference. It makes a massive difference, because you're shifting timelines. So what you're experiencing, what your reality is, which means for the other people in that timeline too, by the way, what their experience is different. And the thing is, you know, from my understanding, meaning my feeling is that my belief is that we're out of the timelines where we're going to experience mass destruction. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that there won't be chaos. Yeah. I'm not saying there's not going to be tremendous upheaval, rebellion, systems breaking. Mass destruction is very different, right? That's like, okay, we've nuked each other and humans are stupid enough, honestly, that we have like blown ourselves up.
Well,
right?
we just... when this podcast is being filmed not that long ago, we nearly had World War III start.
Exactly.
Europe coming to arms against who wants to steal Greenland. And
exactly. So it's like tensions are rising and people are starting. It's like the whole world is going to war, and it can feel really scary. So I say that so that you understand the choices you have been making individually and we have collectively. We're out of this timeline enough that we're no longer mass destruction. Okay, but there's still different levels of chaos, that we can experience. So, I mean, you have a choice in terms of what your resonance is and what it is that you choose to focus on. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you should put on rose-colored glasses and pretend that everything is okay when it's not, because there is a lot of physical despair. There is a lot of death. There is a lot of breakdown. People are scared. Like, it's happening, right? So I don't think we can pretend that that's not happening, because it's happening. And the thing is, what you focus on, you create in your world. Yeah. So perhaps really limit or maybe not look at your social media, and to, be aware of it as much as you need to be, but to really focus on your own resonance, because your resonance matters. And what your resonance is has a ripple effect out into the field. And that means that as you do this work very personally, internally, to release your patterns, to keep your resonance high, it changes the timelines we get to experience collectively. So it does matter.
Okay, so just to give, it's not really a challenge, just to ask you a question, because there's a lot of people who'll talk about this, right? Yeah. So you've got all these people that are creating this fear, generating this fear. They're perpetuating the fear.
Absolutely.
And then you've got other people that are like, I'm not choosing that. Yeah. I'm going to choose to stay in a field of resonance that's a lot higher.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm disrespecting this field. I'm just choosing not to be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens to this group then?
Isn't that interesting? We don't know yet. So I have been having this feeling for a while that the third dimensional order of resonance is going to dissolve. I don't know what that means. And I know that's not satisfying for a lot of people because they're like, oh my God, because, we get all these emails in from Spherical, into customer service, like, what happens to my puppy? You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, or my kids, or my spouse, or my mother, or my best friend who's like so not into this work and I can't make them. You don't have to make them. Okay. This is their choice ultimately. Do I know what this is going to look like yet? No, but I think you can kind of see it happening, right? Like old systems are breaking, like financial institutions are breaking down, like there's a lot more chaos happening. So to know that even though there's this concern about like, oh my God, like everything is breaking, to focus on your resonance and where you're going and to trust that I know it's hard to, but when your resonance rises and you start to feel that everythingness, that sea of resonance, of that brilliance, it's going to work out okay. Like it's going to be okay. Can I tell you exactly how for you it's going to work out okay? But to know that as you sit in your heart space, which I realize is some people might want to like just give me the finger or slap me because they're like, I don't feel like I'm in that space. You may not be. You might be in a lot of fear. Something terrible might be happening to someone you love. You might have lost people that are close to you that you can't reach or in countries that are in extreme chaos at this moment. I'm not saying that's not happening for you. And at the same time, whilst you're in awareness and acknowledging that darkness, to do the eternal work, to be like, okay, I acknowledge this darkness. I'm going to be with this emotion. I'm going to allow to have it. I'm going to release it. I'm going to release the distortions behind it because you're not doing it just for you, right? Like your field has an impact on everything else. And I'm not saying you should feel joy in these moments, right? Where you're like, oh God, it feels like the world's ending. But really to acknowledge all of that yuckiness and to use any kind of tool you have to allow it to move through you and then release the pattern behind it. So tools would be like things
Hang on, before you move to the tools.
Yeah.
So when you're saying to allow it to move through you, you're talking about the emotions, the triggers.
Yes, correct.
When you feel triggered or when you feel the fear or when you feel the anger or when you feel like you're being victimized.
Yes.
It's not that you cut it off and say, I'm not going to feel this.
Yeah.
You let it come through you.
Yeah.
And then you use the tools to confirm, remove, and then rise up again. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're getting stuck because you're feeling extraordinary rage, rage is like a freaking thing right now. I'm going to tell you, the rage is going to get louder.
Yeah.
So some people are just like, there's so much anger and it's like impotent anger, right?
Yeah.
So there's nowhere for it to go. So they don't feel like they have a way to express it. So it just like builds and it gets louder, right?
I think this is important, right? I think also there's a sense the rage comes to feeling powerless.
Exactly. That's what I mean. The
right?
impotent rage. Yeah.
Yeah. And this powerlessness, it isn't true though.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You think that you have no power. That's the mind, right? Like I can't make a difference. I'm not important. I'm not enough. So when you feel that suppressed rage and you use a tool like emotional freedom technique or body talk or body code or emotion code or whatever it is that you might use or NET, which is neuro-emotional technique, any of these will help you to move your emotion out of the nervous system. But then to find the distortion underneath it, right? The despair, the feeling like you're not worthy or the feeling of the fear of loss of control or whatever it is, right, that you have. Even if you can't name it, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, there's that feeling. I hate it. It's scary for me. Okay, well, I'm just going to play GFC in the background and I'm going to do the work to release the low self-worth or whatever it is. Now, remember, at the end of every single one of these episodes, there is a free group frequency calibration. Yeah. And of course, we have a number, like tens of group frequency calibrations that are for specific topics. And if you can swing it, I mean, we very deliberately give Living Your Brilliance every month. That program right now is so critical because it keeps you from getting sucked into the that's happening, right? As we all make this movement and it keeps your resonance up. You're like, okay, yeah, that's right. I remember this brilliance. I remember that feeling. I know what this resonance is and I can be it. Even if it's just for that little period of time because you're countering all the yucky, oh crap, the world is literally going to blow up. So it's important to have that other thing as well.
And it reminds you at the same time that you're not powerless.
Exactly.
Right? Because you are in charge of your resonance. And then you know that resonance is what reflects back to you.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's summarize that. It's about not looking at the social media. It's not getting watching the TV and that because in America, I think you have the news cycle and it cycles every like hour or something, doesn't it?
I don't
Same
know.
stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like brainwashing.
Yeah.
It's not like the 9 o'clock news and the 6 o'clock news. It's like you've got it constantly running.
Yeah, that maybe I don't
remember when I was there, I was like, wow, this is constant.
Yeah.
It's the same message the
over
whole time.
and over. Yeah.
So to switch it off.
Yeah.
And do the GFC.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever you need. Or find other people
Yeah.
that are of the same resonance, the same kind of, I understand who I am intrinsically.
Yes.
That I'm infinite, indestructible consciousness or I'm source intelligence in form.
Yep.
And gather.
Yes.
Like if you have to do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so the point of that is to keep the resonance high.
Yes.
Because
in the chaos, in the polarity, out of it is this rise in this resonance. And the thing is, by you doing it, like you said, if they're not, it is an illusion that we're disempowered. And in fact, it's amplified. Mm-hmm. The amplification of the message is that you can't do anything. You're not powerful enough. Really, we, the untouchables, are in control of all this and you all are screwed. Whoever you all and they all are. But that's the feeling, right? You're like, oh, crap, right? Like there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, yeah. Can we just add here? Yeah, because I'm going to come into your home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take your grandparents.
Yeah. Or whatever it is.
I mean, that is scary.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
And it's hard for somebody watching this now to say, well, yeah, but all you have to do is keep that resonance high. That's a load of
BS.
BS. Thank you. Yeah. We might have to do a bleep there. A whole pile of BS. It's like, no, but it's real.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It is real.
Yeah. And the more that this is probably going to, like you said, irritate some people. But if you put your attention into and your focus into that fear that they want you to be in and in the disempowerment that they want you to be in and the anger that powers that wish to control the situation wish you to be in, then you're in that resonance and you're creating your reality from that resonance. So guess what you create more of?
Yeah.
More of that fear, more of the anger. So is it easier to manipulate people when they're in fear? Absolutely. 100%. So the thing is, that's why we're suggesting turning off the media, right? Turn it off. Like, I'm just going to tell you now, it's going to get louder. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, honestly, it's just going to make you feel more and more disempowered, more and more afraid, more and more angry that you can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So if you decide, you're like, nope, I don't want that anymore. Not because you're just like pretending that everything is great, but you're like, I am going to do something more important with my attention as a creator being. I am going to choose to raise my frequency resonance. And the world that I create in my purview is one of kindness. It is one of like thoughtfulness. And I'm not saying you have to be like angelic and like, you know, weirdly perfect, but you know what I mean? Like
sacrificial.
Yeah, sacrificial and be like, oh, I have to give until I'm bleeding and like whatever. You're not like that. So you're embodying kindness that day. So maybe your grocery store bagger, you just make eye contact them and say, hey, how are you? You know, or just hello or whatever it is. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to add to that. It's not just kindness either, right? Mm-hmm. When you look somebody in the eyes and you greet them and you actually acknowledge their existence.
Yes.
It dissolves the separation.
Absolutely.
Completely dissolves that separation, which the media are trying to tell us it's all about. You know, we're going to separate you and we're going to separate us from them. Yeah. And we're going to be more powerful. And in that brief little moment, you manage to look somebody and say, hey, how are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's connection. Mm-hmm. And I think, as you said, it's not just kindness, it is connection. The connection, I think, is important also because, as you said, it's about witnessing the other person. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm human, you're human. We may have a very different experience of the reality, but we are in our humanness united because we're all part of the one. Yeah. So I acknowledge you. And I think that's really important because I feel like that's lost. Yeah. And it's like people don't make eye contact anymore. It's very strange what's happening in our world.
Gosh.
And so it just, like, as you said, it creates more separation. What
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were in Oakland flying back, right?
California.
In California. Oakland, California. Yeah. And my mum went up to look for a shop because she needed to get socks, right? She's an older woman, 77, 78, I can't remember. And she's with her partner and they're walking along and she doesn't know where she's going. So she goes up to somebody on the street. Yeah. Could you, and the person, her partner's like this, you know, stay away. And my mom's like, huh? I'm just looking for a shop for socks.
And by the way, your mom is like 5'2".
Yeah.
She's not particularly
What's she
menacing.
gonna do?
I know.
And my mum was in shock. She was like, holy.
Yeah.
And the person was terrified, couldn't wait to get away from her. She said, I'm a helpless old woman. And all she wanted was a pair of socks. And I thought, wow, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Not even an elderly person can get that connection.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it if it's a young guy with a hoodie, you've been stereotyped to believe they're dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's an old woman that's looking for a pair of socks.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny how much fear that we have as people, that we can't just be with other people.
Yeah.
And I think it, depends on where you are and all that sort of stuff. But it's kind of interesting how siloed we have become or separate we have become.
Yeah.
And we're really in this deep illusion of the separateness. That's what that's that fostering of like, I am separate from you.
Yep.
I'm separate, like even from my sense of self. I'm separate from the earth, from like the divine, everything. And so just for everyone to understand, in order to move into the fourth dimensional awareness, fourth dimension of consciousness, part of that process is to recognize that you are not separate and that it is an illusion.
Yeah.
And that you're not separate from your higher self. You're not separate from source intelligence. It is you. It is through you. It is inherently there. You can't help it because you're alive.
Yep.
And I think that's an important thing for people to recognize because, again, a lot of that illusion of separateness is even within ourselves. For our higher self out there, source is out there. It's like, in all of the different religions, or not all, I shouldn't say all because I don't know them all, but many of them, it fosters that separation. And so it's really coming through now in our social media in a way that's really not great because now you only see your opinions. You don't see anybody else's opinions. It's really fascinating. And you don't even, and our experience of reality is so fractured.
Yeah.
People do not believe the same thing is happening, like in the reality.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like we used to have a collective agreement as to what the reality was, and now we do not.
Which is kind of good in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Because now we can't sustain that.
Exactly.
That's part of the breaking down.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're obviously creating something new because now we have these, like you say, fractals of everything.
Yeah.
Maybe out of that's going to come this phoenix from the fire.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I'd like to come back to the separateness as well because, again, when you raise your resonance, right, when you move into that heart space, that connection to your higher self and that realization that spirit or pure source never left you.
Yeah.
It was always there.
Yeah.
So to the point where you're walking, you're living, you're breathing that intimate knowledge that was always there. It's viscerally in you now. Yeah. To the point where when an old woman comes up, you realize, oh, there's a reason for this. Instead of, oh!
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's another part of this. Part of the story somehow where we've got that separateness because we don't have that inherent understanding of who we are and we haven't risen enough yet to understand that our higher self hasn't got it in for us.
Yes, exactly.
We wouldn't walk down a street that was dangerous. Our higher self wouldn't let us. Or us as our higher self wouldn't let that happen because we'd sense it.
Yes.
Prior to that.
Exactly. And the other thing too is it's as you rise in your resonance and as you start to embody more of the heart knowingness or heart intelligence or whatever you want to call it, as you say, you trust the unfolding.
Yeah.
Implicitly.
Yes.
Because you're like, I don't know. I don't have visibility into what exactly this is for. Yeah. But that's okay because it's unfolding in a way that I can't. I mean, if you look at the world, if you said 2 years ago, this is what the world would be, people would be like, you're mad.
Yeah, it's
you're
never
mad.
going to happen.
It's never going to happen. And here we are. Yeah. So like my point is a lot of people will focus on the fear part of that. Like, oh my God, there's so much uncertainty. I'm screwed. But the thing is, again, everything is here for you to ascend if you choose to. Yeah. And the thing is to move out of the fear of the mind. So the mind is afraid. Why? Because again, it has scarcity. It thinks that it's limited and that it's going to die. Like it's afraid of death, right? Like, and then it ends. Okay, you as infinite indestructible consciousness is infinite. And I know people are very obsessed with death, and I know it's really scary, and I get that as a human, because believe me, obviously, as a human, I know what that is. Yeah. And at the same time, there's something that happens as you move into your heart space where you recognize that it's not like death is irrelevant, because that sounds dumb. It's not irrelevant, but if it were to happen, it's like part of your passage. Do you, like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, if it happens in that way, it's because I was meant to experience it that way.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what's going to happen after that, but something else.
Yeah.
So it's just like a change rather than something I fear. Now, I'm not suggesting I'm like trying to throw myself off a cliff, because I need to experience death. I'm not saying that. No. But I'm just saying it changes your relationship with fear because you don't fear it in the same way because you recognize this part of you that is infiniteness, that is greater than like the physicalness that is you. And then there's this other realization that that like you're going to be okay. Like there's somehow something larger than your little mind, which is, amazing, but limited, is helping you. Like you are guiding you to by yourself, for yourself, from yourself in order to ascend. So if you were like, wait a minute, if that's true, then this thing that looks like a challenge, that's meant to help me in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, so where is it? What's the nugget that I'm meant to learn from this?
Yeah, exactly. All right, there's 2 questions I want to ask,
okay.
Right? One is, are you saying that when this stuff is happening in front of us, let's just say we do end up in a place where we watch somebody being handcuffed, thrown to the ground, and do we just sort of stand there and raise our resonance?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I know people watching this are going to say, oh, yeah, great. That's like sending it love and light.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you telling us the same message?
No.
No,
yeah,
right?
No.
So can we just address that for listeners?
So I think that it's important to hold your center in these times. Okay. So I'm not saying like, like if you're saying like you or someone else is being physically aggressed.
Yeah.
That you should be like, let's raise my resonance. Because kind of like, screw off, basically, Yeah. But it is important to hold your center.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I'm not going to try and get out, try to pretend this isn't happening. I'm going to be right here centered in myself.
Now, stretch
that a little bit. What does that mean? So a lot of times
in that instance, right?
exactly. So a lot of times what will happen when people go into fear like this, they'll go up in their heads and they'll be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like this is happening, what's happening, right? And then we try to figure it out and we're like, and then we go into more fear and then our breathing like that, like what I just did.
Right.
Okay. But if you drop into your center, it's like you pull your awareness into your body, right into the center of your body. You can even put your hand here. Be aware of your body. Right? Be aware of yourself now in time. It's like this horrible thing is happening, but you're like in it, right? You're like, okay, I'm aware of it happening and I'm here. And I'm aware, if you can do this, like not only of your body here in this present moment of time, I'm aware of my connection to source. I am aware. So this looks freaking horrifying. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not horrifying because it is.
Yeah.
But you're like, and even though this is horrifying in the human experience, I am still connected to source. I am it. So even if you can stay present with yourself and aware of that connection, that's enough to start to shift things in your reality. So it's not like you're just passively standing by. And if you feel like you have to intervene because you feel compelled that it is the right thing to do it.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. When do you know that, okay, I can act now because I'm in integrity, I'm in coherence.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm in reaction for the mind now.
Yeah.
All my triggers are up and I got to get in there because I'm running from fear.
Fear, yes.
Right.
So I feel like it has to do with that, how dominant is that fear response.
Right.
So if you're really in just the fear, then likely you're in just that like safety, like I'm not in safety mode, which is running through your body. It's like a visceral chemical response. Your whole body is in like fight or flight, right? It's just like in it. Okay. So that is fight or flight, body, mind. Yes. But if there's something within you that you feel compelled, you're like, that is not right, or doesn't feel right to me, or I have to say something, like I have to, because it's just like part of the expression of who you are, then do it, right? Because that's sort of, and a lot of us won't say anything because we're so afraid. In fact, most responses is, I'm going to stay quiet because I'm afraid of the repercussion to me. I'm not saying you go be reckless for God's sake, right?
No.
But I'm saying like, a lot of us are terrified of what's going to happen to us, to our families, etc. So we stay quiet. We allow for whatever to happen. But more and more, I think people are getting angry enough now. They're like, no, this is not allowable in my purview. That's not okay with me. So now you can choose how you want to respond in that and how you respond.
Yes.
But I'm not suggesting you just sit there and pretend that everything is okay and just raise your resonance. But first, center yourself, right? Be really in that moment to be aware and be like, okay, now I'm choosing to do this. So you're not just like in reactiveness because of all of your fear and your triggers and your whatever. You're like, no, this is my choice.
And the same idea would come when you're in a situation like that and it's time to leave.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? You'd know, okay, I'm running for fear, or I'm moving now because I'm being compelled to get away from here.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not about feeling guilty that you left.
Yes, that's right.
It's about honoring
what's true for you.
What's true, what the higher resonance is guiding and saying out now.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's funny, we don't leave sometimes when the guidance is out now.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to look rude or we don't want to look disrespectful or we have fear around all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes listening to that, like, you need to leave now, is you need to leave now. I remember it was interesting. We just had friends over for the weekend and we went on this little art walk in this neighborhood. It was really lovely. And we went to this store and Chris and I walked in and it was a very like long, deep, it was like went right through this other person's house. So there's all this stuff and they were collectors obviously and they were doing different things and whatever. We literally walked into the first like part of their garage, I guess is what it was. And I could feel my field being squeezed. And I was like, I'm leaving right now. Right now it's happening. And it's not like I was afraid of it. I was just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good to me. Like I feel like my field is being squeezed in a way that's not nice at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove myself. And actually Chris felt the same thing. And we did.
Yeah.
Now our friends didn't have the same response because they didn't have that response.
Yeah.
And so they took their time. We just waited for them outside, you know, and they came out 20 minutes later and they bought some really cool little thing and they showed it to us and off we went.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter what they, you know what I mean? They had their fine and nice time. It was just like in that moment, I'm not going to stay here and sort of like experience this thing with you more, even though I intuitively know for me that this is not correct.
Yeah. It didn't mean that you were right and they were wrong. It just meant for you, it was time for you to move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were able to enjoy, and we just had a really lovely time looking at the sky.
Yeah.
And out they came, and everyone off they went, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Because I wanted to address that because I know there's a lot of people right now saying, you can't just sit there and do nothing. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe this is the time for me to do nothing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Maybe in a week it'll be different.
Exactly. And it also depends on what you think nothing is. So for a lot of people, they would say like the act of raising your resonance is nothing because their focus is completely on the physical. But I would argue that your resonance actually has a lot more impact on the physical than they even understand. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because that's where their focus is. But you can act just like that woman in that bomb shelter.
Yeah.
Like before she had to go into the bomb shelter, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Shifted things. Lots of things can happen.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. And more and more that's happening. Now, I won't bang on about it, but the second thing, this is something that's stuck in my head for the last few years now, and I always default to it. When the chaos is getting crazy and I catch myself getting caught up in the, oh my God, he's thinking, he's such a, leap. I stop and I go, he's playing his role
Exactly.
well.
That's exactly what it is.
He's playing his role well because right now I'm triggered. Wow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as much as I hate whoever it is, I have to thank them.
Yes.
Oh, God, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny, you know. We all have different roles to play and we all have different choices to make. And in the shift, as we move up into this higher dimensional order of resonance, there are key beings that are causing like more chaos and breakdown to shake others awake. Do you have to agree with them? No. Do you have to like them? No. Do you have to think that they're great humans? No, not at all. But they are, as you say, playing a role. And like I said, you don't have to align with them.
Yeah.
But there is this other perspective of this system has to break because even though it's chaotic, it doesn't work. It is based on an older, denser frequency resonance, often of us versus them. Some people having a lot more power than others. Fear, oppression, scarcity, you name it. That's what our systems are built on.
Yeah. It's
Right?
not love.
It's not love. It's not sharing. It is not oneness. It is none of that.
In this day and age, I have just to sort of show what we're talking about, it's hard to think that there are still people sleeping on the streets.
Yeah.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
With all the technology that we have, how is it that one man can have the wealth of the planet 5 times over and we still have people sleeping on the street?
Yeah. Or hungry.
What kind of consciousness is that?
Yeah. Or don't have access to water.
Or
Clean
medical
water.
care.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Right?
Yes.
So I get that it has to change.
Yeah.
If we want to get up to these higher resonance resonances, vibrations, next level consciousness, we are definitely going to have to take a good hard look at how we've allowed all this to happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've all allowed it.
Yes, we have.
All of us, either by being silent or just by being part of the process.
Yeah.
And it's not about feeling guilty. It's just like, wow. Well, look what how my part's been. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And then to do the work to release the patterns, to rise in your resonance and shift your focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, this is a topic that we could go on forever about this because it's so up right now.
Yeah.
And it's a great conversation to have, and
Yeah.
a great conversation that hopefully will help the listeners have a little bit of breather between all this. Awesome conversation. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. If you want to start to gain some space, some distance, and some quiet away from all the different narratives and the noise, so you can have a more expansive sense of peace, click on this next video for the free group frequency calibration I created to go with this episode.